Good day everyone. Before we start, let me introduce first myself. I am John Paul Lacaba, BS Math 3B, and today we'll be exploring the topic of congruence in triangle. But before we dive into our main topic, let's first define what is triangle. So triangle is one of the geometric shape. It not, it's not just a simple shape. It can be seen all around us. Some real-life examples of triangles include sandwiches, traffic signs, cloth, hangers, and tracks in a billiard. Now, let's discuss the parts of a triangle. A triangle has a vertex, sides or edge, and an angle. So, a vertex is the point of intersections of any two sides of a triangle. So there are three angles in a triangle. These angles are formed by two sides of a triangle which meets at a common point known as vertex. And a triangle has three types of edge, which is the hypotenuse, opposite, and the adjacent. Now that we know the parts of a triangle, let's now discuss the types of a triangle. Triangle can be classified to the number of congruent sides they have. So there are three types of a triangle: the scalene triangle, the isosceles triangle, and the equilateral triangle. So what is a scalene triangle? A scalene triangle has all side lengths of different measures. So no sides will be equal in length to any of other sides in such a triangle. In a scalene triangle, all the interior angles are also different. In the given figure, you can see that all the sides of a triangle seems to be unequal. An isosceles triangle is the length of the three sides are equal. So the angles opposite the equal sides are equal to each other. In other words, an isosceles triangle has two equal sides and two equal angles. In the second figure, we can see the two sides of the triangles appears to be equal, whereas the base of a triangle here is smaller than other two sides. And last is the equilateral triangle. So it has all the lengths of the sides are equal. In such a case, each of the interior angles will have a measures of 60 degrees. Since the angles of an equilateral triangles are same, it is also known as an equiangular triangles. In the last figure, all the three sides of the triangles are equal, as well as the interior angles equal to 60 degrees. Now, let's discuss the definition of congruence in triangle. Two triangles are said to be congruent if all three corresponding sides are equal and all three corresponding angles are equal in measures. These triangles can be slides, rotated, flipped, and turned to be look identical. If repositioned, they coincide with each other. You can abbreviate the definition of congruent triangle as CPCTC, which means corresponding parts congruent triangles are congruent. Now, let's prove that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle JHI. So the given is triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF, and triangle DEF is congruent to triangle JHI. So what could be the first statement? So right, the first statement is triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. So what does the reason of this? Right, it is given, since it is given in the figure. Next is angle A is congruent to angle D, angle B is congruent to angle E, angle C is congruent to angle F, and line AB is congruent to line DE, line BC is congruent to line EF, line AC is congruent to line DE. So the reason is right, CPCTC. Corresponding parts congruent triangle are congruent. So next is triangle DEF is congruent to triangle JHI. So it is given. Then Angle D is congruent to angle G. Angle E is congruent to angle H. Angle F is congruent to angle I. Line DE is congruent to line GH. Line BC is congruent to line HI. And line DF is congruent to line GI. So, the reason is CPCTC. Next is angle A is congruent to angle G. Angle B is congruent to angle H. Angle C is congruent to angle I. Line AB is congruent to line GH. Line BC is congruent to line HI. And line AC is congruent to line GI. So the reason of this is congruence of angles and segments are transitive. So when we say transitive, if angle A is congruent to angle B and angle B is congruent to angle C, then angle A is congruent to angle C. So that's the reason of statement number 5. And the last is triangle ABC is congruent to triangle GHI. So the reason is definition of congruence triangle. So we proved the triangle ABC is congruent to triangle GHI. Alright, now that we know how to prove a triangle congruence, let's dive into our second activity. For this activity, I want you to complete the congruence statement for each pair of triangles. So be ready because it's time to put what you've learned into practice. So you have 5 seconds for each pair. Let's start. So what do you think? Is triangle ABC is congruent to another triangle? That's right. Triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. You also have 5 seconds for the next problem. What do you think? That's right. Triangle DEF is congruent to triangle XYZ. And for the last item, time's up. So what do you think? Triangle KLM is congruent to another triangle? That's right. Triangle KLM is congruent to triangle FGE. I think that's all for today's tutorial on triangle congruence. Once again, I am John Polacaba. Thank you for joining and participating in the activity. Take care and happy learning.